Hello friends, this is Dr. Shabina Fatima, Department of English, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. And today I'm here with a course that is communication. And with this course, we will be having 5 modules actually, and we will be covering the whole module step by step. So today I'll be giving an introductory lecture for this topic, that is communication. So first we will be looking at what is communication and how we understand communication. So, what will be the objective of this communication? By the end of this lecture, you will be able to understand that what is communication, or objectives of communication, types of communication, that is verbal and non-verbal communication, and then importance of communication and its uses. So let us discuss what is the purpose of communication. As we know, the purpose of any language is to communicate effectively, and if you are not able to communicate effectively, it means you are not the communication is not possible. So it doesn't. So if one does not get a chance to communicate, he or she cannot be able to communicate. So it is a natural process that demands for communication, and communication is in this means in this high changing world. We need to command our language, and the language plays, as we know, language plays a crucial role in communication, and English is no doubt the foremost and most important tool for communication all over the world. So individually, every man should strive hard to acquire good communication skills, which are most important prerequisites to excel in one's career. So, what is the importance of communication, and what is the relationship between communication and human life? Within the framework of social setup where we live, human beings interact with each other, not with each other, but sometimes, with the animals also. So we are expressing our ideas, thoughts, emotion, feelings through communication. So communication has been termed as the fundamental process of communication, we can say. So to understand human behavior, it is important for effective teaching and learning. It is equally important to understand the process of human communication, how human beings are communicated. So the need of communication arises from man's desire to express himself in a grateful manner, in an effective manner. The need of communication arises from the need to, to express your emotions, to interact with others, to express your ideas, to express your thoughts, and the need to relate and to connect with others. So this is the fundamental, need for communication. Next, when we look at the terminology of the communication is that term that it is used to transmit your information, emotions, and feeling from one person to another person. And understanding is the basic features of communication. So as we can see that communication is not, it has, communication. How do we communicate? For communication, we need language, and there are many, steps involved in communication. So what are the first, before going through the steps that are involved in the communication, we will be looking at the definition that is given by the scholars of different scholars. So it is Kate Davis who said that communication is transfer of information and understanding from one person to another person. It is a way of reaching others with facts, ideas, thoughts, and values. So, what does it mean? Means communication is transmitting, transformation of your ideas, your emotions, your knowledge, your anger, your anxiety. So, it is a transformation of facts, ideas, thoughts, and values. Whereas W.H. Newman, he defined communication as an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions, or emotion by two or more people. And when we look at Norman B. Sigban, he defined communication as the transmission and reception of ideas, feelings, and attitude, both verbally and non-verbally. In general, it could define communication as two-way process that result in a shared meaning or communicate understanding between the sender and the receiver. So what do we need? It is a two-way communication. The communication, according to Norman Sigban, communication is two-way process. So these are the just example. So what are the objectives of communication? Communication is actually a process where that includes transformation of information, ideas, emotions, skills, knowledge. This is done with the help of with the help of symbols, words, pictures, figures, graphs, drawing, and illustration, etc. We are using for the for transmission of knowledge. So therefore, communication can be described as interchange of thoughts or idea. It is also referred as sharing of meaning. Again, communication is viewed as criteria and transmission of our information consisting of distinctive stimuli from our source to our recipient. What are the elements of communication? The basic elements, there are 5 basic elements of communication, as we all know. That is sender. We need a sender, there will be a receiver, there will be a message, there will be a channel, then we will be having a feedback also. So communication, how with this picture, it is elaborating what is the communication process. That sender encodes a message, and through channel, it is being sent to the recipient, and recipient decode the channel, record the message, and he he encode the feedbacks, and through channel he decode. So let us look at what is the qualities of sender. The sender or the transmitter is a source of message and transmit the message for any special purpose. The process starts when an idea occurs into a sender's mind, into a transmitter's mind, which he or she wants to convey to others in order to achieve some objectives, some aims. At first, he will formulate a clear idea about the message, and then logically, his or her logical faculty and the mental attitude shape that message. Then what happened? Then he or she encodes the idea and translates into transmittable symbols, and then she decides the symbol, then she decides the medium, time, channel to send the message. After that, the process starts with the sender and ends with him or her by the comprehension of feedback. So he or she can be a speaker, a sender can be a speaker, can be a writer, can be an actor, can be any human being. So message is what is message? Message is the idea, emotions, opinion, information that is to be transmitted by the sender. It can be verbal, it can be oral, it can be non-verbal. It exists where does it exist? It exists in sender's mind. The most important characteristics of message is that it is well organized, structured, shaped, and selective. It is very important point here to note that the message should well organized, well structured, well shaped, and it should be selective. Otherwise, the message, the aim, the objective of communication will not be achieved. So, for example, the subject matter taught by the teacher is a message, and if the teacher is not able to communicate, if he or she is not able to comprehend the message properly, then he or she will be a complete fail, right? So, communication is impossible without exchange of message. The message needs to be well crafted, complete, clear, and unambiguous. Next step that involves is encoding. Encoding is the activity of converting data or information into codes. So it is the process of translation of message into symbol, which can be in forms of words, actions, signs, signals, pictures, or audiovisual aids, anything. So it takes place where it takes place. Naturally, it will take place in the sender's mind. The sender puts his idea or facts into words, symbol, pictures, gestures to make them understand. Now, encoding, the symbols are selected by the sender according to the types of message and the receiver's ability to understand and interpret them correctively. Say, for example, if a teacher, she should also always use language that is understandable by his or her uh, mm, students. So, if he or she is not able to communicate properly, that means the message or the idea that he or she wants to make her student or his student understand, uh, they will not be able to understand it. So that is why all it is important to select the proper symbols or the to receive for the message, and it should be related with it should be selected according to the capability of the receiver. And it is the method of what is encoding. It is a method of providing a structured message by the use of shared course of communication, that is medium, which can be verbal and non-verbal also. For example, the teacher prepares the topic to teach in the class and decide to way of teaching, whether through lecture or visual aids. So he or she reads the lesson and translate the symbol into his or her own mind. So now we will be looking at what is channel. Channel is imaginary path through which the message is conveyed. It connects the sender and the receiver. AR and sites are some of the important channels of communication. Then sender selects the channel and keeping the receivers in my mind. I told you earlier that we should always be very conscious about the symbols and the channels that we are going to select, through which we are going to communicate the message. Why? Because it's your receiver. The receiver should comprehend and understand the message, and that is why sender selects the channel, keeping the receivers in mind. Then choice also depends on the types of message as well as relationship between the sender and the receiver. It depends if both have informal relations. Sender chooses informal channels, but in case organizational communication, he chooses formal channels. So it depends on to whom you are communicating. If you are communicating with your family, you will choose informal way of communication. If you are communicating in your with your boss, naturally you will be choosing the formal way of communication. So it depends who is the receiver. So always sender has to always keep in mind the receiver, who is the receiver and who is going to receive that message. So similarly, if the message is informal in nature, he may choose informal channel, but in case formal message, he can choose the formal channel. what is the difference between the channel and medium? We have to look at it. So the channel is the path through which message is conveyed, whereas medium is the carrier of the message. Say for example, language. Language is the carrier of the message. So for example, in oral communication, air is channel, whereas medium is language. Later is the medium with postal or courier service is the channel. Similarly, say for example, we are taking the letter. Letter is the medium and the postal or courier service is the channel. So medium plays an important role in delivery of the message. If the medium is inappropriate, it can mar the very purpose of the communication. Let us look at the receiver. Receiver is the party to whom the message is directed, to whom the message is sent, to whom the message is conveyed. So receiver can be a human being, he can be a non-human being, or can be a non-living being also. The main function of receiver is to receive the message, decode the message, understand it, and understand the intended meaning and convey the feedback and give the feedback. So receiver is the destination of the message. Who is the receiver? Receiver is the destination of the message. He or she remains receiving end of the communication. He receives the message, decodes the symbols, signals the word, and draws meaning of the communicated message. That is why he or she or the receiver is also known as decoder. So he can be a reader, he can be a listener, he can be a viewer also. Say for example, students is the receiver in the class. The process of communication is incomplete without the availability of the receiver. So now next term that comes is decoding. Decoding means understanding the meaning, interpretation of the message. It is opposite to the encoding. It is an act of translation of codes into ordinary meaning. That codes that are given us into the through the message by the convener, you have to encode the message into ordinary language, understandable language, simple, clear, and concise way. It is performed by the receiver. Who is decoding? Decoder is receiver. It takes place in the receiver's mind. It helps the receiver to interpret the form of message. Now, it is a mental process which the receiver draws, where the receiver brings out the meaning from the communicated words, signs, signals, symbols, and pictures. He is translating the symbols into meaningful information to the best of his ability. And then, say for example, a student listens to the lecture and draws meaning of the communicated words, sign, signals, and symbol that is conveyed by the teacher. So now let us look at the last part of the process of communication, that is feedback. It is reaction, it is a response, or it is a reply of the receiver is to know as feedback. It is receiver's response to the message. It confirms the recipient of the message. It is also it is directed towards the sender and complete the communication. Response of a student to the teacher will be, we can call it a feedback. Feedback is important because it is the component of communication process where both sender and receiver plays a crucial part, a reciprocal role in the process of feedback. Receiver acts the sender and sender becomes the receiver in case of feedback. Here we have this reciprocal role. The sender and receiver, they are playing the reciprocal role. How? Receiver becomes the sender and sender becomes the receiver. So feedback can be used as a tool to measure the effectiveness of communication. It also allows the receiver to ask question in order to clear his or her doubt, as well as to develop confidence. Understanding is the end result of communication, but it does not imply agreement at all. You can understand the message, but it is not emphasizing, it is not imposing on you that you should agree with the message, with the idea that is conveyed to the receiver can understand the message, but we are not but the receiver, but the sender cannot imply, cannot imply agreement to the receiver that he or she should agree with the idea that is being shared. If the receiver does not understand the message, he or she will not give, he can give the negative feedback also. So here we can see that receiver on we can have two types of feedback. One is affirmative feedbacks and the next is negative feedback. What is affirmative feedback? Affirmative feedback is when a receiver comprehends the message and gives affirmation. He understands and he is agree to you. He is agreed to the receiver. Then it is affirmative feedback. And when the receiver is not giving the affirmation, he is not understanding, or he or she is not agreed to your message, he can give the feedback, and that feedback can be negative feedbacks. So feedback can also be verbal and non-verbal. It can be a smile, it can be a sigh, it can be a nod, it can be any kind of facial gestures, facial expressions, anything. So what is the advantage of feedback? Feedback confirms the recipient of message. It enables the readers to clear his or her doubt. It helps the sender to know receiver's interest. The sender can make necessary changes in message on the basis of received feedback. So it encourages interactive communication. It also completes the cycle of communication. Now we will be looking at the types of communication. So we are having, as we all know, there are two types of communication. That is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So verbal communication is that when we are communicating through words. Non-verbal communication, when we are communicating through signs, language, symbols, etc. So there are four. When it comes to verbal communication, we all know that it incorporates listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Whereas non-verbal communication includes body language, such as facial expression, eye contacts, gestures, postures, attires. So verbal communication refers to the people sharing information with the help of words and the phrases. Say for example, just a minute session or conversation or the group discussion or the presentation. These are the few examples of verbal communication. Verbal communication, as I told you, that it is communicating through words. It has a grammatical structure. There is a great difference in skills of individual at using language. Why? Because it differs from person to person. It depends on your background. It depends on the person's background, it's concerned with the process of social interaction that plays a very crucial part in to be an effective communicator. It can also be it can be used to convey the information to others, and it is used to influence the behavior of others also. So we will be looking at what is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication, when people share information with the source of body language, tone of voice. It was Albert Mehrabian. He is a psychologist, and he says that when we are communicating, when we are communicating or when we are sharing, at that time, we are sharing through non-verbal sources that incorporates 93% of our communication. Whereas verbal source, while communicating, we are using that is only 70%. So we can see that the communication, non-verbal communication, plays a very important role in communication, because we can understand communication through non-verbal cues, through non-verbal, symbols, gestures, postures. So without non-verbal communication, it is just like a human body without a heart. So we can say that it is, non-verbal communication is the art of communication. So say if you're not if you are not able to use proper non-verbal body language, your body in a proper way, it means you are dumb. You can be a example of a dumb people who can who can not be able to express their views and ideas in an effective way. So, facial expression and non-verbal communication plays a very important role, a key role in non-verbal communication. So, universal. With non-verbal communication, you can express your sadness, your grief, your happiness, your angry nature, your fear, your anxiety, any kind of expression you can express through non-verbal communication. As we can see, with the non-verbal communication, we people will be able to understand whether you are angry, whether you are joyous, whether you are surprised, whether you are disgust, whether you are sad, whether you are fear. Likewise, you can give your feedback. For feedback, also you can use your body language also. So now we will be looking at the purpose of communication. What is the purpose of communication? First, to give or to get exchange information. We are exchanging information, thoughts, ideas, knowledge. Then to use communication to form the maintain relationship. We are using information. We are communicating to maintain the relationship. And to persuade others to think in the way that one does. You are able to persuade. You are able to make understand others your point of view with the process, with the communication. By the act of communication, you will be able to convey yourself in a very effective way. It is also important to gain or to maintain or to exert power over others. To make decision is also to make decision about what we think and what we do is also a part of communication. Purpose of communication, objective of communication, to express our ideas and to understand others. We are using communication is playing a very key role while expressing ideas and expressing ideas and emotion, to make sense of the word and our experience of it. That is the thing. So with this, I would like to end my lecture for today. So we will be meeting next with more videos, more lectures. Thank you. Keep smiling.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.